Hi guys, I'm Sarah Tipple from Essex Training Solutions and Hair and Beauty Quality Advisors Community Interest Company, or HBQA, and I'm going to speak to you today about accredited certificates versus regulated qualifications. So this is a hot topic in the hair, beauty and aesthetics sector at the moment. There's a multitude of qualifications available, some accredited, some regulated, and people don't necessarily know which ones they should be doing, which direction they should be going, and the academies will all have their own opinions as to what's best. We are in a huge period of change in the aesthetics sector at the moment, which is impacting beauty, and part of that we know to be around qualifications. So hopefully by the end of this video you'll just be slightly clearer on the difference between an accredited certificate and a regulated qualification, and you'll be able to then make better informed decisions moving forwards. So let's start with accreditation. What is an accredited certificate? So when an academy or an educator decides that they want to start offering education packages, courses, whether they're online or face-to-face, they generally need to start looking at getting them accredited. This process is fairly straightforward. It involves you sending your criteria, so your lesson plans and schemes of work, copies of the manuals that you're going to give your learners, or any learning resources, handouts, stuff like that you're going to supply, and copies of your policies and procedures to an accrediting body. They will review those and decide whether or not that meets what they would consider to be an industry standard for that course, or for that treatment or service. And they will then look at the educator or the educators, if you're talking a team. They'll look at their qualifications and skills and put the two together and hopefully give a stamp of approval that allows the academy or the educator to offer accredited certificates. What does that mean in layman's terms? It means that the insurance companies will be happy to insure you as a therapist, a practitioner or a stylist after completing an accredited course, because they are happy that the educators and the academy and the content has been checked by an external body, and that external body say, yes, this is fit for purpose. Some popular examples of accrediting bodies in the hair, beauty and aesthetic sector at the moment are companies like Professional Beauty Direct, ABT, CPD Group, CPD Accreditation. All of these companies will work in a very similar way. However, there may be slight discrepancies between what they consider to be suitable content. There may be discrepancies between who they consider to be suitably qualified and experienced to be able to educate. So what are regulated qualifications? A regulated qualification is one that's been through a similar approval process, but it's a more official process, and that is carried out by Ofqual. Ofqual are a non-ministerial government department. They regulate awarding organisations. An awarding organisation is a company that's been through regulation with Ofqual, and they have a much more stringent set of policies and procedures that enable academies to deliver these regulated qualifications. So essentially, when you're offering a regulated qualification, you're another tier removed from the design of the qualification and from the quality assurance of that qualification. So what Ofqual do, as the government's watchdog, if you like, are to put a set of requirements and standards in place for the awarding organisations. The awarding organisation will issue the certificate for a regulated qualification. So the academy that you go to will deliver the training, but at the end of that qualification, when you've supplied all of the evidence requirements needed, they will have to submit that to the awarding organisation, who will then do their final quality checks and issue the certificate on behalf of the academy. So there's much more stringent policy, procedure and quality checks in place for a regulated qualification. When you pair this with the fact that the criteria has also had to be approved by Ofqual, you see that additional layer of standardisation within those qualifications, and it makes it much easier and much more transparent for learners, employers, insurers, licensing bodies and everybody else involved to be able to confirm what you have covered in your criteria, to what standard you've covered it, and also to ensure that for some of the higher level qualifications there will be a minimum required amount of case studies or evidence that needs to be supplied before you can access that certificate. So all regulated qualifications in England have the Ofqual stamp on them. They're managed and they're quality checked by the awarding organisations. Some popular awarding organisations in the hair and beauty and aesthetics industry at the moment are Qualifier, VTCT, City and Guilds, we have CIBTAC, Focus Awards, Gateway, iTech, ProQual. So there's multiple awarding organisations out there that will offer regulated qualifications, and they all have to follow certain rules, regulations and procedures the same as every other awarding organisation. And it's these policies and procedures that allow those regulated qualifications to be traceable and to be transferable. And by that what we mean is when someone comes with a qualification that may be a good few years old but it's got the Ofqual stamp on it, we are still able to determine what that criteria was and what the evidence requirements were, so we know exactly how much somebody has done, what they needed to do to be able to get this certificate, and we might be able to apply that to future learning. We might be able to leave out parts of new qualifications that they want to do because we're able to determine that they have done this. With an accredited qualification, we can only do that the whole time the academy that's offering the accredited qualification keeps that the same and is advertising that content. So when we're talking about academies and educators, signing up with an awarding body or an awarding organisation to be able to offer regulated and accredited qualifications is much more stringent. The costs will vary depending on the awarding organisation. However, they will still look at the same things as an accrediting body will. So they will still look at your content delivery plans, they will still look at your resources, and they will still look at your policies and procedures. However, a lot of this is in much more detail. So when we talk resources with an accrediting body, we're talking manuals, slideshows, stuff like that. When you're working with an awarding organisation, they will be looking at who supplies your practical resources to make sure that they meet an industry requirement and UK requirements, to make sure that they're safe, reputable products, equipment and materials that you're going to be passing on for your learners to use. When you're learning something new, you tend to favour the processes and the equipment and stuff that you've been using. So it's important that academies are held accountable for getting that right. They will also look at the management team, the management structures that are in place to make sure that the centre has some longevity, to make sure that they're not going to be enrolling learners that they aren't able to complete on their qualification. And they also look at your team and how you work as a team. They ensure that standardisation is regular within the team, so all learners are getting the same experience, that all learners are getting to have the same support, and that they are able to meet the criteria that has been set out and approved by Ofqual. In most situations, we're finding awarding organisations are also contributing towards the industry. They spend time, they spend money creating resources to support. They will be putting on standardisation events, potentially shows and events for learners to help them access wider ranges of learning. They will act as a go-to if somebody is having struggles with the centre that they're signed up with, and they generally are inputting more into the industry than an accrediting body. It's important that people that are coming into the sector or people that are progressing their skills within the sector are able to access education programs that gives them safe training and that allows them to be insured to practice. And in lots of cases, the accredited system supports that in a much more timely fashion than a regulated program build would. What we hope is that the accredited route doesn't lend itself to somebody for their entire career, and we hope to build strong foundations using regulated qualifications that, as we mentioned earlier, are traceable and transferable, and they're transparent, and we're able to get people holding those qualifications and utilising those skills, and then using the accredited routes for building on those skills. I hope this video has been of use to you and that you're now more confident to tell the difference between an accredited certificate and a regulated qualification, and which one you need or which one you prefer for your own career and for your own personal growth. If you have any questions, do please get in touch. Our handles are in the comments below, so you can make contact directly with myself or one of the team. If there are other elements of education packages that you'd like us to talk about or that you feel need clarifying, let us know below and we'll make sure that we get that content to you. Take care.